I haven't started the record. So I started the recordings. Let me repeat. So today, what we will learn? Today we will learn how to create a parameterized data set. Okay. And why we will learn that? Because whenever you write the codes in data in SQL or in Databricks or in any sort of Python code, you don't want to pass some sort of hard coded values, right? So that you can basically create a framework and use that framework if any changes happens as well. So you whenever you join an organization, and in the organization, if you see, they have like 10 data source, but they have 1,000 data set, so they are not following proper practices in development practices. Okay. So how we can do it? So generally you should create one data set for one source, right? One or two data set, one for the source, one for the sink, and then you can use same data set for all sort of pipeline by parameterizing that particular data set. Okay. So we will learn how to create a parameterized data set and use same data set for all kind of requirement. That is the whole agenda. So we will try to parameterize this particular uh, inputs, and then we will try to pass multiple values on this input and then see that same data set how it can be used for multiple requirement, right? That we will see today. Okay. Any doubt on the agenda, guys, what we are targeting today? Now I am opening data lake. Okay, now when you go to data lake, right? Now to locate any file in data lake, three parameters you mainly need. What are those parameters? You need container name, right? And then you need a directory name, and then you need a file name. Okay. So if I tell you three parameters, like if I tell you container name, if I tell you directory name, and then if I tell you file name, then you are sorted. You can locate the file, right? So to parameterize any data set which is present in data lake, you need three parameters. Okay. Similarly, whenever you want to locate any file in SQL Server, what are the parameters you need? You basically need a schema name and a table name. If I provide you those two parameters, then you're sorted. You can locate the file, right? So what I will do now, I will try to create a data set, a new data set for data lake. I will create. Okay. And I will choose the link service as this, and I will not pass anything, neither the file name, neither the directory name, neither the neither the container name, nor like directory name and file name. I will not pass anything. Okay. And I will create a data set. So this is the data set which I have created, right? Now I want to parameterize it. Okay, so operation is very simple. Okay, so it's like complicated, but at the same time simple as well. So we want to parameterize it. Okay, so which particular tab we should open? Parameters. Now, what is this particular window? So this window we are always using, if you notice. So suppose this is the copy data pipeline which we created. This is the two data set, right? So if you open any of the data set, this is the same window and this window, right? So this is the same window which I have created, but right now I am not focused on the pipeline. I'm creating a data set. Okay, and then this data set I will use in the pipeline. Okay, so first I am creating a data set. Ideally, when we were doing it previously, we were creating the pipeline and then creating a data set. But currently I'm creating a data set, then we'll go to the pipeline, then create the pipeline. Okay, so first of all, I will create a parameter. I will create three parameters, right? Because we understood to locate any file in data lake, we need three parameters. That is why I'm creating three parameters: container name, directory name, and then file name. Container, directory, file name, right? Now what I will do, I will pass this parameters here, which is your container name, your directory name, and then your file name. Now these names can be anything. Either you can write ABC, XYZ, or like LMNOPQ, anything you can write over here, right? So it's just like how I'm refreshing, how I'm giving the reference of the container, directory, and file name. But if you write suppose ABC here, then ABC is passed here, and then you should know ABC is giving the reference to a container. That's all, right? Container name, directory name, file name. I'm creating a data set, right? Now let's try to use the same data set while I am doing a copy. So I will go to the copy, I will paste a copy data pipeline, and I will use data set data lake. I will use data set data lake over here. Okay. So here now it's asking for the value. So you defined the parameter, but give me the value for it so that I can run, right? Similarly, in the sync, I can again choose a dataset data lake, right? Same dataset I'm using the source and sync. I'm using the same dataset. Now I can run the pipeline. Okay, by I have created the same dataset, but I can pass different value here. So suppose I can pass input, container name, folder name, directory is folder, file name is suppose department dot csv, and here I can pass it differently, right? I can pass it like output, container is suppose parameter. Okay, and then I can pass the file name as suppose department dot csv again. So I am just changing the parameter. I'm using the same data set, but if I'm passing different values, so suppose this containers input container department file, right? So this is going over here and then pasting these values, right? Similarly, it will go to the sync, take this value, paste it over here. Okay, but different value has been passed, but same data set. Okay, so let's run this. Now this is being copied by using same data set, right? So now if I go to output container, and then if I open this output parameter, right? Output parameter, and then department.csv. Okay, so we have used the same file and then use the same data set, but we have just like use it for the source and sink. Now I can use the same data set for all of my pipeline, which is related to my data lake, right? I don't need to create a multiple data set. I can just use the same data set for my data lake and then fulfill that requirement. Okay. Similarly, you can do it for the SQL Server as well. So suppose I want to create a data set for SQL Server, for example. So let's create a data set, new data set for SQL Server. Okay, I will not writing a schema name and table name here. Click OK. And I will create a parameter here. Schema. And accordingly, I will pass it, right? So schema table name. Now in this pipeline, suppose I want to use the same parameter, okay? So I can call that parameter which I have created, which is data set SQL, for example. Okay, and I can pass the value like dbo dot department j and then auto create table option because I'm creating the new table, right? And then run it. Okay, now I can further parameterize this data set. So suppose I want to further parameterize the data set, right? Now what I want to do, I want to parameterizing it further. Suppose I don't want to pass the values here, right? What I want to do, I want to take the values not from here, I want to take from pipeline parameter, okay? So suppose instead of passing the values here directly, this is the parameter of the data set. Okay, now what I'm trying to do, I will click to the white space and these are the pipeline parameters. Suppose I'm creating 5 parameters here. One for the source container, source directory, source file name, and then SQL schema and SQL table name. So you created pipeline parameters now. So whenever you run this pipeline now, it will ask you those parameter now, right? So you created a pipeline parameters. Now you will pass, I'm passing this parameter over here, okay, which is like source container, source directory, and source file name. And here I am also passing it SQL schema, sorry, SQL schema, and then SQL table name. Okay. So when you pass these parameters, and suppose I am uh, giving this particular name as, okay. Now suppose if I just publish this pipeline, for example, okay. Now suppose I am running this pipeline, for example, right? So let's run this pipeline. So it will ask me the value, right? So here suppose now whenever you run this pipeline, it will ask you the value. So I am passing the value input container, folder directory, file name is suppose department.csv. You can pass any file name, whatever you feel that yeah it should be there, you can pass those value. Now suppose I want to dbu, then like suppose uh, department q, you can pass anything and then you can run the pipeline, it will run for that because you have created a parameterized pipeline right now. Okay, you can see the run over here, right? And if you debug as well, suppose if I debug as well, then also it will ask me the value and then you can pass the value. So this is how you can create a parameterized data set and also pass the values parametrically. So whenever you are passing it, what is happening, like this value, whatever value you write, suppose you can write the value over here as well. So this value is going over here, and then this value is getting assigned to this, and this is going here, right? So this is the flow. Any doubt on this, guys? Is it clear for everyone? Yes, no.
Yeah, I'm good from my end, Abhishek.
Yeah, for others, is it clear? Anybody wants me to re-explain that, or for someone it's not clear, please let me know so that I can re-explain that, or it's clear, everything is clear. Okay, so I feel nobody is speaking up, so I feel everything is clear for everyone, right? But if you feel that yeah, it needs to be re-explained, then you can let me know, okay? But this is how you can create a parameterized data set, and then you can create a parameterized pipeline, okay? Now I am going one step further now, right? So now suppose I want to create a for each loop, okay? So this copy data activity, now I understood how to parameterize my data set, right? That I understood. So now suppose I want to run this for copy data activity three times for different file. So I just need to pass this value three times differently and this value three times differently, and then my job is done, right? So that is what I need to do. So I need to basically uh, like create I want to create a pipeline to parameterize it, okay? That is what I want to do. So I want to create a for each loop now, right? So let's understand how to create a for each loop, which is a second step. So what I will do now, I will create a pipeline which is a for each loop pipeline. And here I will paste a copy data activity. Okay, and here I will use a parameterized data set in the source and parameterized data set in the sink. So either you can copy to SQL and you can copy to you can copy to SQL as well, and if you want to copy to data lake, that also you can do, right? Accordingly, you need to create a. Now what I want to do, I want to basically pass this value differently three times, right? So one file for every time I need to pass, right? Now I want to run it iteratively, so that is why I want to basically pass a like a user for each loop here, and I will paste this for each loop inside this copy data activity. Okay, now my only job is to learn how to pass these three value differently every time. That is what I want to learn now, right? So for that purpose, we will create a metadata. Okay, for that purpose, we will create a metadata, and I will tell you how to create a metadata. Give me a moment. So I will paste this metadata now, copy this metadata. Okay. And then let's try to understand this metadata. Okay. So there are three array. So right now this metadata looks complicated. Okay. But we will try to find a easy way of this metadata as well. So yeah, we will try to understand and create a easy way of this metadata as well. That also we will do. Okay. But right now, let's try to understand this metadata. What is this metadata? Okay. So here for one file, I created one array. Okay. So for each array, we have a one file. Right now, what I am trying to do, I am suppose input file is employee.csv, input container is input directory subfolder. Output file is employee.csv, output container is for each, and output directory is this. Okay. Now I will change this metadata as per my use case. Okay. So what I will try to do, I will go to the output container. Okay. And I will open this particular storage account. So yeah, input container and then folder, right? Input container and then folder. So accordingly, I will give input container and then here folder, right? Input directory is folder for me. So here I'm giving accordingly folder. Here also I'm giving folder, right? And here also I will give folder. Okay, and all of these files are present over here, right? So if I go here, like I have my employee.csv, department.csv, and sample data.csv. All the files are here, and accordingly it will move to the output container, output file, output directory. And if you see, I use the same input file three times. Here. This particular variable is same. Okay. And here also this variable is repeated three times. This variable is also same. Okay. So I used a variable which I am iterating three times. Okay. This is a variable which I am using. So one array is for one file and I am using a three variable, right? Now, any confusion on the metadata, guys? If you have any confusion, please tell me. So first we have learned how to parameterize the data set. Now we are using the parameterized data set to run the for each loop. That is what we are doing. And I created a data set for it. I created a metadata for it. One file for each file, right? If you have any confusion, if you are like you can type as well. If you have any confusion, if you want me to repeat anything, you can type as well. Is it clear for everyone, guys? Okay. Now what I will do, I will paste this metadata in the yeah. So this is the metadata. I will copy this metadata. I will go to my yeah. So this is the for each loop, right? Now previously we were creating a parameter, but now we will create a variable. Why? because we are not passing one value, we are passing three values. Okay, and we have a variables for it. Input file repeated three times, input container repeated three times, input directory repeated three times, right? So we will create a variable now, which is a metadata variable, and this is in the array format, and value is this. I will pass the value, and this value needs to be called here in the for each now, right? So because for each needs to be run here, so I'm calling to this variable now. I will go to the variable, I will call this variable. That's all, right? Now I will open the for each loop. I will go to the because now we told for each how to run, right? Now we need to take the value from the for each loop and pass it to the copy data activity. Okay. Now what I will do, I will pass the value one by one. I will go to the source. I will assign the value of the container, which is like I will add dynamic content. I will say that yeah, you need to take the value from the for each loop, right? And then assign it to a container, which is this input container, right? I am assigning the value one by one. Okay, input container, and then I will assign the value to the directory for each dot directory, input directory, right? And similarly, I will assign the value that yeah, you need to take the value from the for each loop, and in the for each loop, you need to take this input file name value. Similarly, in the sync, you can go and then assign the value. You need to take the value from the for each loop dot, which value you need to take? Yeah, so here uh, output container you need to take, right? So you can assign accordingly output container, right? And then for each loop dot output directory, you can assign the value of output directory as well, output directory. Okay, and then you can say that yeah, you need to run from the for each loop dot output file name. Okay, once you assign the value now, once you start the for each loop, it will run for one file for one array, right? So what will happen? It will run for first array first, right? So it will, yeah, it will take the first array, get this input file, pass it to that, get this input, pass it to that, right? So first one, once first array is finished, it will run for second array, right? This is how it will run. Now I will debug it. Now one by one, it's running for one like suppose currently it's running all at once, right? So all the array has started like right, it's running for all the files right now. Done. Now if I go to input, if I open this particular folder input container, right? Um, if I go to output, let me see what was the my container name. My container name is for each container, right? For each container. So let me go to the for each container now. So for each folder, for each subfolder, right? And then my files, right? It got moved. Okay, it got moved. So this is how you can run the for each loop, right? Any confusion on this, guys? I am surprised nobody is asking something because it's getting difficult, but like, okay. But if it is clear for everyone, that's good.
Well, I have questions, but I rather ask you afterwards. I have a lot of questions,
Okay, yeah.
actually.
So generally, this class doesn't go so fast because people ask too many questions. But I'm surprised nobody's asking something. So better to ask if you have questions so that I can clarify right now.
For mine is from the the early beginning, meaning it's like I haven't even been able to copy data from MySQL to what is it called? To data
Block
factory
data
and
lake.
stuff. So to blog all of that. So I'm having issues with that to begin with. And I feel like the only way to really grasp all of those concepts is being able to do the homework. But I
Yeah,
haven't been able to do none of those. It's not
Yeah.
working for me.
yeah.
So
So
I have to leave soon, Abhishek, but I do agree. It's just that I do have a lot of questions because this part is a big part of my job. I'm using Microsoft Fabric though, but it's probably similar, right? The data factory part of Microsoft Fabric.
Mm.
But this is very important to me. But I just, same as Isa, I have to start over, right? Because I'm starting over with, doing all my subscription and access and all that. So I'm going to do that this weekend. But and I do need a lot of clarification because in my job I do need to create pipelines, right, with a lot of example CSV files, Excel files, and I need to load them in my lake house, and then and I do need to use for each activity, right? This activity, pipeline activity, and but I just cannot formulate my question without having to do everything and then trying to practice and see where I'm confused.
Okay,
But
okay, fine.
I do understand your frustration, right? Because
No,
this
not a
this is
frustration. Like it's just like I want you guys to totally get it. But like if
right,
you don't
uh,
ask question, I won't be able to understand whether you're getting it or you're not getting it or like
right,
yeah. So those
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I just don't know
So
how to ask it yet.
yeah.
That's my problem. I don't know how to ask my questions yet. So same,
Okay,
probably same with Isa. So
yeah.
okay. Okay,
and I
fine,
do.
guys. So whenever you feel that I am going fast or anything is not like sometimes if you don't say I am in the perception whether you're getting it or I am going fast or it's like clear for you. So that kind of question comes to my mind. So okay, fine. So what like I won't build like I wanted to teach further on it, but I will stop here. I let's practice. You guys practice it. Whatever I have taught till now and then let me know if you have doubts on Tuesday. We will go through the doubts. So we will first start with doubts as well itself if you get time over the weekend to practice it. But I will stop here. I will not build further on it, otherwise it will be confusing for you guys. So first start with parametric and today's class is very very important class. So please practice the today's class, right? So because we have done the parameterization, we have done the for each. So probably the most important class is today's class. So please do it because it will be bit like confusing as well until you do it, right? So do it and then we'll meet on Tuesday. I will upload the recording and then we will meet on Tuesday, right? Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Uh, I will
thank you.
stop here now. Yeah.
Thanks.
Now,
Bye.
Isha, if you are trying something and then I think on like yesterday, I wanted to speak with you, but like you were muted and then you were not speaking up, but I can speak now if you have
Yes,
time,
yes,
right?
yes, we can do it now.
Okay, fine. So